Okay, it is recording. Okay. I thought I wasn't recording. When you log into Moodle, of course, you know, you're going to go into My Courses. And then you got some resources here. Of course, your classes are right here. Like in my case, all of my classes are right there. Already set up, ready to go. And of course, I got templates. In the future, you're going to have what we call shells and templates. We'll talk about that in a few minutes. The templates are basically the working version of the class where I build it. The shell is the working version. I mean the real version that the student sees. Okay. But before it gets to that point, I got to build it. So you know, I got a lot of works in progress. It's like working on cars. I got lots of projects in the templates, but we'll talk about that later. Lots of resources for you right here. One of them that's going to help you out is right here, Faculty Resources. Click on that. It's going to bring you up to this. And the one you're going to want is Moodle Resources. Click on it. And right here, you're going to see a series of 4 videos. I did this training back in January, and I recorded it. And everything I go over today and then some will be on these videos. So anything you didn't quite understand or couldn't remember, go back to this video, and it talks about everything. In these videos, you'll learn lots of things you'll need to do in Moodle, and some things you might not want to mess with yet because you don't want to mess that up. When you get more comfortable with it, then you can do all the fancy stuff like I do. So, but that right there is for your viewing pleasure. You can view that from the comfort of your own home. Also, under resources, I'll have you added is the Academic Advising Center. Now, of course, you don't advise on campus. I assume Susan is still advising for the Human Services. But within this resource, you can access my advising trainings. And for example, you go all the way to the bottom. I got a PowerPoint on Moodle that I'm going to use for my talking points, and then you combine that with a video, and that'll give you some more resources. So, and that's up there. I'll get Kathy to give you access to that, and then you can have that as well. So there'll be more things for you to play with. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to run through the basics of. I can find my clicker. I'll get it over here. All right. Now, I've already showed you, under my courses, and you go under the resources and go into either faculty resources to see videos, or you can go into the Academic Advising Center and see some of my training PowerPoints and whatnot. You can see all that. We talked about that. Before we get started, basically what I'm going to show you today is the basics to Moodle as I understand it. If you had the people from the company that does Moodle come, they would give you all the technical stuff. I'm going to give you what you need to know. I'm not going to.
That's good.
There's lots of things you can do with Moodle. Let's say there's 50 things you can do with Moodle. You really only need to know 5 or 10 of them. So we're not going to talk about the stuff you don't need to know.
Sounds good.
We're going to leave that alone. So
Anyway.
there's like I said, there's lots of functions, and I don't know how to use all of them. So anything I don't know how to use, I'm not going to talk about it.
Okay.
Because those things I've found are of no use to me. I keep it very simple. There's no need to make it any harder than it has to be. Anything that I don't know anything about, but you would like to know about, talk to Kathy Mayo about that. But I'll show you what I know, and what I know should be a plenty. Now I want to show you what some of my courses look like, the way I've built them. I tell people, I give them a disclaimer, don't think, oh my God, that thing is big, there's lots of stuff in there. Keep in mind, I've been working on these classes for years, and I have my diamond polished real well. You got to build yours from scratch, so it's going to take a while to make yours look like mine eventually. So don't be thrown off by that. If I had some other examples, I can show you what some courses look like compared to mine. I like how mine look because they look nice. They're all uniform and got lots of stuff in there. as we go through learning how to build a class in Moodle, I'm going to tell you how to build it with ADA specs in mind. The Americans with Disabilities Act requires us to build our Moodle courses in a certain way so that individuals with disabilities can take our courses. For example, you might have someone take your course that requires a gadget to scan the course for them and read things. Well, if the course is not set up in a certain way, their devices won't pick it up. Since you're teaching online courses, it has to be ADA. So, but if you were teaching seated classes, it wouldn't necessarily have to be ADA. But I tell people, build all your classes ADA. That way, you can take pieces from any class and put them together and make it an online class. Otherwise, if you try to take a piece from a seated class that's not ADA and put it into an online, you'd have to go back and fix it. Why not just fix it to begin with? And you don't have to worry about it no more. So we're going to do that. And I've already mentioned that online courses have to be ADA'd up to a certain point. So I think that's the majority of what you'll be teaching, because the bulk of your work is at the prison. So you'll be doing, I assume, just online, every now and then. If you were doing a seated version, you would only have to do a little bit in Moodle. You'd have to have a minimum of a grade book and see what else, the syllabus. But with an online class, you got to have quite a bit more. So I'm going to show you what some online courses look like of mine. We talked about some of the terms for Moodle. We talked about what a template is. The template is the working version of the course. That's where I build it and put the parts together. The student doesn't see the template. Anytime you want a template, just send Kathy Mayo an email and she'll make you a template. Tell her how you want it made. I always like my Moodle templates sent to me back. I don't want anything in it. Typically, the ones she sends already has stuff in it. All I do is go in there and erase it. So I tell her just to send me a blank one. That way I can make it whatever I want to do, and I don't have to waste the time of erasing stuff. That takes a little while. She'll make you as many templates as you want. If I was to pull up my templates, where's it at? I got lots of I got lots of different versions of courses. I got online versions, partial versions, partial B-term versions, online B-term versions. I just make all kinds of things to see. Sometimes I make something, I like it, sometimes I don't. But I like to have all the different versions of it. I don't throw anything away because I can always use pieces and parts to build something else. But the templates are very useful. But that's the working part. The shell is the course that the student sees. This is the end version. These are the shells. So everything that's in this, the student will see, unless you hide it from them. And I'll show you how to hide things so that only you as the instructor can see it until you want the students to see it. Another term you'll need to know is modules. I call these things modules until they have a name. You saw topic 5, topic 6. I just call it a module. So anything, let me pull up one of these courses. I'm going to put up one of my online. Okay, this is my online 131. Okay, in the module, everything to do with the syllabus is in the syllabus module. So within the syllabus module, I got a welcome video. I got another video about success. I got my syllabus. I got the assignment timeline, and then I put a PowerPoint in there, another success PowerPoint that I made because I've been here a long time and I've seen 50 ways to fail. So I try to help my students avoid the 50 different ways to fail because I've seen it all. So I put that in there. But anything to do with the syllabus in the welcome is in that module. Just like anything to do with Chapter 2 is in the Chapter 2 module. All the assignments for Chapter 2, all the resources for Chapter 2, everything's in there nice and neat. Some people have one gigantic module that has everything for the class. I don't like that. That's kind of junky to me. This is nice and neat. So everything to do with Chapter 2 is there. Sometimes I have a separate module for the message board or the forums. Sometimes I don't. For this particular course, I have a separate module, but that's what a module is. A module, aka topic. And then the other term you'll need to know is the edit button, which you've already saw our friend, the edit button. Without the edit button, see right now I can't edit anything, right? There's no way to edit anything in here. I can't click on it. But I hit turn on editing, then all of a sudden now I got edit rights, and now I can go in there and edit anything I want. So to edit, you got to cut editing on. And that's just a matter of hitting that button and boom, it's on, boom, it's off, boom, it's on. So pretty straightforward. You're going to be teaching an online class, so it's got to be built with ADA in mind. We already talked about why. Certain things you'll need to know about building a class with ADA in mind. You can't highlight things in red or yellow. ADA doesn't like those colors. I use blue, so I've gotten in the habit of highlighting everything in blue. You'll look at this. Look at Chapter 2 module, for example. I want these things to stick out. I highlighted them in blue. Blue's an okay color. So don't use yellow and red. Don't use red font. Stick with black font. But for highlighting, I use blue, and I'll show you how to highlight when we get to that. Because you might be asking, well, what did you highlight it? I'm going to show you that. Like I said, don't use red font. Typically use black. You could use blue font if you wanted to. Sometimes I'll use blue font for the header. Like at the top of my class, where I got, welcome to 131, blah, blah, blah. Come down a little ways. So I got that in blue and then the rest of it in black. But, no red. No red. When it comes to adding documents into your online class, the documents have to be in ADA format. That's pretty easy to do in Word. When you're typing something up in Word, I can pull up a Word document. Anytime I'm making documents for an assignment, because I'll give an instruction sheet, I'll type it up. Whoops. Okay. And then I'll check to see, inspect document, check accessibility. And this will tell me if it's accessible. In other words, is it ADA approved? And that it says no accessibility issues found. But if it did find an issue, it would, for example, it doesn't like that I skip down too many times because that throws that reader device off. So it says, go fix this. So if I was to backspace, fixed it. Now it's happy again. That's how I make sure my document's ADA'd. And then if I wanted to turn this into a PDF, then I just save it, I do all that kind of stuff. But that's how I make sure the document is accessible to the ADA crowd. And also, when I name the document, I name it a certain way to make it ADA. Let's go inside a assignment of mine. Go into edit. As you can see, assignment 13 for chapter 13, it says read over the assignment document. Well, where is it? I hid it inside because it looks neat to me. I put it inside. I'll show you how to put it inside. But I'm going to crack it open. Edit settings. And give it a second. There we go. Come on. There we go. There it is right there. There's the assignment instructions. You see how I got it edu underscore da-da-da underscore da-da-da. They want you to do the title of it that way. Once again, it's about that ADA reader thing. so it reads it better. So you got to even do that to the title of the document itself, which I don't understand why, but that's what they trained us, so that's what I do. And we'll talk about how to tuck the assignment instructions inside of it. Unless you want to put the assignment instructions on the front, that's up to you. I like to do it in a separate document and drop it in there, but that's me. I've done it both ways. Let me get out of this before I click on a button by accident. All right. So we talked about ADA. And all of this is in the PowerPoint that I showed you earlier, so you could go back and look at it too. I talked about also in the PowerPoint when it comes to ADA and things. Another little thing. You see this right here? This right here is called a label, and I'll show you how to make those in Moodle. That has to be made a certain way. In order to make a label that's ADA compliant, this right here has to be made a heading. It automatically puts it as a paragraph, but the reader doesn't like that, so you got to make it a heading. And what I do is I just go ahead and do that on all of them, so they're all good, nice and ADA. And if I wanted to, back on the other side, I could duplicate that, and it would duplicate all the settings, and I could just move it around, and that's nice and useful. We'll talk a little bit more about how to make these and how I make mine. I make mine a certain way so that they're easier to see. I mean, I could make that smaller, but then it would be smaller. I like it big, big but not too big. So we'll talk about that when we get to that section. I don't want to get it too mixed up. But that's a little bit about ADA, and like I said, I ADA all my courses, seated, online, whatever, regardless of whether I have to do it in that particular class or not, because I like to take pieces and parts from different classes and drop them in, because in the early childhood program, a lot of topics are covered again and again in different courses. So if I got a chapter on Freud and in another class we got to talk about Freud, there's no need to type up Freud again. Freud's dead. He hadn't said anything in a while. So I could take Freud from one class and dump him into the other class. So I take it from the other one and dump it in there. It's already ADA'd up. Good. Boom. You move on. Otherwise, I'd have to go in there and fix it. Let's see. Now, when you're building your class, you can build it several different ways. In the past, we had them have a sort of different look. You would see everything all down the middle. Now you just see the particular module you're in. That's called the one topic setup. That's the new standard. That's what they want everybody to have. I'll show you the difference. Go down here to, where's it at? Edit settings. So course administration, edit settings. Click on that. Now if you want to see everything, you go over here to expand all. Now everything shows. Okay. In here, some things you can't mess with. It won't let you mess with that. I got my course start date. This is an online course. Yours will be the same. Starts on August 28th of 2019 at 0000 hours. So midnight of that night, class opens. And they can rock and roll time, look at whatever you allow them to look at. Sometimes I'll go ahead and put the course end date. This particular one I hadn't done that, but I don't necessarily know that I need to do that. But sometimes I go back in there and do it just in case. But all you had to do is hit enable, and then
That's just the end of the semester.
Yeah. Whatever the end date is for your course. I assume your course is an online term, so it'll have the same end date as mine would. So I think that's December the 9th or something like that. Now, that one topic thing I was talking about, this is the format of what your course is going to look like. Back in the old days, we used, I want to say the topics format. Now watch this. It'll make my class look. Save and return. This is what they used to look like in the old days. Everything's straight down the middle. But we all decided the topic format, the one topic format looks better, so you can't do it this way. Kathy won't allow it. If you do, she'll tell you to go fix it. So let's go fix that because that looks terrible. Oh, where are you hiding at? Here we go. Go back in there. Course format. Go back to one topic. Oh. And, you know, you see all the different things I mess with. I don't mess with that. I don't mess with that. I don't mess with... The only thing actually, I don't mess around with much in here. I don't mess with none of that stuff. Some people like this completion tracking stuff. You could hit yes, and it would put a little check mark over there. If the students looked at it or done something with it, they see that. Or I don't like it, so I'd leave it off. You can cut it on if you want to. That's, you know, that's your business. I just don't like it. I don't mess with that. It comes like this factory, you know, show grade book, you know, all that nice stuff. So I just leave it alone. I'm gonna save my change, so my one topic. See, now my one topic's back. See?
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, it's just better looking. So
It's easier to navigate.
yeah. So that's the one topic format. So yours should come automatically set up like that, but if it doesn't, that's how you flop it back.
I think it does.
Yeah. So, and there's some other things in this this edit settings section that you can do. We talked, like I said, we talked about that. A lot of the stuff in there I don't mess with. See, if you look like this, see, all it is a collapsed right now. You can click on it and it'll, you know, open it up. If you don't want to have to worry with clicking that every time, you can go up here to the corner and expand all. And then it's good to go. Like that. Let me get my, tired of walking on that. I was supposed to move my screen over. You know, when they put my screen in, I just slapped a sticker on the wall, meaning I wanted it on this wall. They took it as I wanted it centered right there. You know, some things you don't think you ought to have to tell people. But evidently I was wrong. Yeah, I assumed that one was going to be easy to figure out. There we go.
So is there anything else under edit settings that I would likely use?
I don't mess with nothing. Other than that, on the occasion, and I adjust these dates.
So get me started anyway.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, like I said, I don't mess with none of this stuff down here. And sometimes in a class, I'll have that course completion thing clicked in, and I don't like it, I'll just go in and cut it off. Yeah, because I don't like it personally, but that's me. But that's all you need to know about that little section. And I got some pictures in the PowerPoint you can look at. Another thing you'll have to make a decision about is how you want your class set up. Do you want your class set up as a delayed release? In other words, do you only want them to see this week's topic and this week's only? Or do you want them to see everything? So you got to make a choice. Do I want delayed release or do you want it to be binge release? I do mine like Netflix. When the student clicks on Neil's online class 131, everything I'm going to give them for the semester is up there, ready to rock and roll, due dates, everything. You can work as fast as you want to. I don't care. That's your business. That's the binge mindset. Some people want to only open it up each week. So only week one's open right now. And then when that's over with, they open up week two. You know, however you want to do it. I don't see the point, man. In an online class, go rock and roll with it. I don't care. If you want to work fast, that's your business. But that, hold on one second. Yes, sir. Yes. I'm supposed to be doing a training next week. Yeah, and you're gonna mind that they got training on it next week. Okay. Thank you. But yeah. See, like I said, some people, they'll open it up each week. I don't do it that way. Like I said, everything's open. They can go through it and run as fast as they want. I don't care, but everything's got a due date. I tell them, early is fine, but late, no good. And everything's already got a due date on it. I mean, every last assignment. I mean, chapter 6, if it'll pull up, there we go. Chapter 6, due on October the 14th by 11 o'clock. It's already sitting there. That's just how I do it. It's up to you, your preference, your preference. If you wanted to hide chapter 6, I could hide parts of chapter 6. Everything that has an edit, you can hide it. Every little piece. You can hide one piece of it and everything else can be seen. If you want to hide everything inside of module chapter 6, you go to the very top and hide the topic. And everything in there is hidden. Only person that can see it is you. For their purposes, it's not there. Want to open it back up? Click on it. Show. Look at it. Boop. Or I could go in here and just hide this one little thing. Why I would hide that, who knows? But if I wanted to, boop. It's a hidden from student. They don't see that label assignment. But I don't do it that way. That make sense? So make a decision. Do you want delayed release on each topic? Okay, I'm only going to let them see week 1. Only going to let them see week 2 when it's week 2. Week 3 when it's week 3. Or have it all set up. Or you can have them see each module as you're building it. Probably that's going to be the case with you. You're going to be building modules. I'm assuming you're going to try to get at least 2 or 3 weeks out ahead of them. And now give you 2 or 3 weeks. While they're working on the first 2 weeks, you can work on the next 2 weeks. Unless you work faster and you can get the whole thing built before the 28th.
Well, I was told, Michelle seemed to think that it was already there and that it could be copied over to me.
Oh yeah, I'm sure that's somebody's version.
So to give me something to start with, and then if I want to, adjust.
Yeah, you'll have to take a look at whatever that class is that Kathy's going to load in there. You might like it, you might not. I find I don't like other people's work, so. But for the time being, it's going.
Now, it's giving me a starting place.
Yeah. What you can do is use that one this semester. Get Kathy to make you a template and take that one and make your own.
So I need to email her and ask her.
Yeah. Make me a template. Tell her what you want to call it. I want it to be called.
So it's not already there when you pulled up and saw crisis intervention. There wasn't a template.
That's a shell. That's a lot. That's going to be the student version. I don't think you have any templates or whatever. But you can ask her to give you a blank template, and you can go ahead and start working on, fall 2020's version. That's yours.
Okay.
Yeah, you ain't gonna have it this year, but you'll have it next
fall
when you teach it again. And then you could probably go ahead and get you a template for whatever the spring course it is you're going to be teaching, and go ahead and build on that too. I'd always be working ahead.
Well,
I don't like to.
She just asked me about this one course.
Oh, they'll probably ask you about the spring too. So
I got to get my feet wet. So.
Yeah. I always prepare for the inevitable. Case in point, I built a class before they even asked me to teach it because I knew they were going to ask me to teach it. So I went ahead and built it. Then when they asked me to teach it, I wasn't as angry because I'd already made it. Because I don't like to do things at the last minute. I'm a planner. I like to plan far ahead.
I am too, but I've also got all the prison stuff I'm dealing with, and they started
and that's a whole nother. That's a whole nother type of learning there, because a lot of the things I'm talking about for this don't translate to that. That's something entirely different. All right, so we talked about whether you want to do the delayed or the binge release. The participation button. This is how I can check to see who my students are. Let's see, participants right there. Yeah, click on that. Right now, there's only me in there because the class hasn't opened yet, but eventually you'll see all your students in there. If you look at DataTel or WebAdvisor and it says you have 5 students, but you only see 4 up here, and Susie's not up there, then shoot Kathy a line and say, "Look, Susie's not showing up."
I guess somebody's
Pop
going to
her
some
in.
training on WebAdvisor.
Oh, that's WebAdvisor's easy. There's not a whole lot to it. So.
I don't know how to access it.
But this, you can go in there and see what they've been looking at. Well, I looked at such and such, and you can go into log. No, you didn't. No, you didn't. And like I said, you can go ahead and see when they last logged in. See, Neil logged in a second ago to this class. So I'm active. I'll give you another example of this. Let's see, let me get that here. Give you a better example. Let's see how your colleagues have been looking at the advisor site. Some people haven't been looking at it. Let's see. See, Cameron looked at it 41 days ago. Yeah. I can, and there's another way I could go in to see exactly what it was he was looking at. Yeah, some people don't use it that much, as you can see. I use it a lot. But that's just an example of what the participant button shows. It shows you a list of students. In this case, people who have access to the advising site. Let me go back to, that's my 131. All right. When Kathy builds a blank course and sends it to you, she already has these in there. Smart Thinking, Online Tutoring, and the VoiceThread module. So these are already in there. The only thing I did with mine is I dressed it up a little bit. She doesn't put that up there. I just like it to look a little bit better. All of these things she put in there. That I added in there. Same thing with VoiceThread. The only thing I added was this right here.
What is VoiceThread?
VoiceThread is one way that you can verify that your online student is who they say they are. Teaching online classes, you have to do at least one assignment that requires them to verify their identity. One way to do it is VoiceThread. Don't let them fool you in thinking that you have to use VoiceThread. You don't. You could come up with another type of assignment that requires them to verify their identity. In other words, a video or a proctored exam, say at the library or somewhere, some kind of way to verify that Johnny is Johnny. I sometimes use VoiceThread, but in other classes I don't. For example, I have a language and literacy course. I require the students to make a flannel storyboard and present it to children and video themselves doing it. I count that assignment as the verification of their identity because they're sending me a video of them doing something. That's like confirmation that Johnny is Johnny. Another course that I don't use VoiceThread is my practicum course, where the students do 9 hours a week at a daycare. I go and visit the daycare and I lay eyes on them personally. So that's how I verify their identity. I go see them in person, which I normally wouldn't do on any other kind of online class. But for others, I use a simple VoiceThread assignment. And this right here is just a module that has...
They record themselves here or what?
They can record themselves using their computer, their cell phone, whatever. I'll show you a VoiceThread assignment that I built. And basically the students record with their phone, upload the video, dump it in there, boom, I got it.
Okay.
But we'll talk about that in a minute. Like I said, you don't have to do VoiceThread. You can make an assignment, a regular old assignment, and tell them to send you a 1-minute video. And that would be basically the same thing without having to use this clunky software. because this software can be clunky at times and unuser-friendly. However you want to do it. But with an online class here at the college, you got to do some sort of assignment to verify their identity. But this VoiceThread module that comes pre-built into your course by Kathy, all it is a resource for the student to access information to understand VoiceThread better.
Okay.
I leave it in there whether I use VoiceThread or not. I just leave it there. Actually, I have it in all my classes. I just leave that module there. Like, for example, in my seated classes, I don't need to do that because I see them every week. So that's how I verify who they are. So I don't do anything VoiceThread in a seated class, but I still leave the module in the Moodle class because I don't feel like cutting it out. I just leave it in there. But these come pre-installed, so that's nice. Next week, they're going to be doing a VoiceThread training sometime here. Look at the email that Michelle sent everybody about the schedule for this week.
I may be teaching. I start Friday.
Okay.
Pretty much teaching 6 hours a day.
Lots of times they record them. If you want to see a video on VoiceThread training, I think Zach has videos because he lots of times does the trainings. You can get it with Zach and he can send you his videos. If you want to use VoiceThread, you don't have to use VoiceThread.
Right.
Like I said, you can develop an assignment that requires them to send you some sort of video or live chat with you on the computer or whatever. That's up to you. As long as you have something that verifies their identity. Okay, so we've done that one. The syllabus module. You got to have the syllabus included in an online class. In my syllabus module, I like to have a welcome video, and you can record this on your computer and dump it in there and see the student goes in there. And, hello, my name's Neil Callahan, and it's a nice little, it makes it more lively. So I've done that. Within the syllabus template, within the syllabus module, I put this nice video in there about success because everybody wants to be successful, but nobody wants to work at it. And success doesn't just come to you. Then you got the syllabus itself. They click on that, and they can see the syllabus. This syllabus is based on the syllabus template. Now, when you look at the syllabus template, you'll notice Neil's looks a little bit different. It's because it has everything in it that the syllabus template requires. I just put it in. I just made it look the way I want it to look because I have a certain way I like things to look. And my syllabus is long, but the syllabus template's long too. So some of this stuff I've always had, and some of this stuff is based on what the syllabus template requires. But this is the syllabus that the student gets, and they got to go through it and all that. The syllabus template, you can find that in two places. You can find that to find the syllabus template. Oh, come on. You can either go to faculty resources and look it up that way. And it's right here in this module. Or you can go to the advising site and find it there. I put in here, where's it at? Faculty forms and resources. It's not an advising form, but it's a faculty form. And in this case, get down to syllabus template, and that's the most recent one from the spring. I just click on it and then build my syllabus from that. What you'll do is probably reverse engineer this template, the syllabus that comes built into your class. You'll just pull it out, save it, and then fix it with your info in there. And anything in it that you don't like, then you'll change and update and whatnot. So that is that. Some people just dump the syllabus. Let me show you. some people do it kind of junky. They dump the syllabus in the first part here. Yeah. I call that my header. They just dump it in this section somewhere. And the student has to do a damn Easter egg hunt to find it. I like it to be straightforward where the stinking thing is. Boom, it's right there. Student can't find it, they're not looking. Boom, it's right there. You don't have to have a syllabus module all to itself, but I would prefer that. That looks better to me. Like I said, you know, I put a video in there and all these other things. The other thing I put is the assignment timeline. Within the syllabus, there's a section where you have the assignment timeline. I just cut that out and made it its own separate document so they could have that too. So there's no excuse not to know when the assignments are. They can click on that, and they have a list, nice and handy dandy, that shows every assignment and its due date. And I try to, you know, level it out, and this helps me, you know, see how much time I have for the chapters I want to cover. When I build a fall class, usually I try to make sure I can avoid Thanksgiving week. I try to be, you know, a little bit kind. I don't give them any assignments during Thanksgiving week, but that's, you know, up to you. You might want to do that. I don't know. I don't. I beat them to death with assignments the rest of the semester, so I give them a week off, and then I beat on them some more for the end. But I do a little separate document there, and then whatever else, little tidbits you want to throw in there. That's, you know, that's up to you. The academic integrity quiz or statement of academic integrity. This comes built into the class. Kathy sends a generic looking one. I don't like how hers looks, so I just redid it in my way that I like. But it's the same thing. The quiz is no different. It's just the outer appearance looks like me. And the statement of academic integrity just tells the student, look, read the syllabus, take the quiz, and until you do this, number one, you haven't entered the class. And if you don't do it by a certain date, you get dropped. And I also tell them, until you do it, guess what? None of your assignments open up. So until you do it, you can't turn in assignments. So it's all, you know, nice and spelled out. And I make it real blunt. Take it now before the 10% point. Because after that, we don't get FTE for them, and then we drop them. Failure to take the quiz by the 6th. That's for online classes, the 6th at midnight, after midnight. September the 7th, they hadn't done the syllabus quiz. Next day you come into work, you drop. You know, you get removed. But the syllabus quiz is real simple. They click on it. It says, I have read the syllabus and understand it, true or false. And once they do it, boom, it self-grades, then all the assignments unlock. But they got to do that. And you saw that. It wouldn't let you do nothing.
Why wouldn't they make it in?
Yeah, because it was that telling you, hey, you hadn't taken that. You click on it, doesn't do anything.
I actually did go in and take it, and it still kept coming up. So I don't know what's going on.
Oh, okay. That's weird. But Kathy's, you know, the one she sends you is generic. You can clean that up. The template that the template that the other person had last time may have their version of it. And once again, I like to put it in its own module. That way it's nice and easy to see. I make it, see, all of this right here is just information. None of this is assignments.
Right.
The syllabus is the first important thing, and then the next thing, you know, syllabus being the first thing, that means I want you to look at it first, and then boom, you got to do this. Then we got all the assignments. I don't know that I talked about the top part. I call this the top of the class. This, you can make it look nice. I dropped a picture in there because I like it, a nice little picture header. I do a little welcome. All this is the course description from the combined course catalog from Raleigh. That's the course description. I didn't make that. I just cut and pasted it in there.
assuming that'll already be in for,
It could be, well, but then again, I don't know how well that person built that class. So
I have no idea.
yeah, but that's where I got it from. Either that or the catalog. The college has a description of the course in the college catalog. Upon completion, see, then I have my learning objectives. Every course, I have a learning objectives for it. Now these learning objectives I have built based on what the course is. So these learning objectives relate back to this. In this particular course, there's 4 learning objectives. Every assignment addresses some or all of them at one time. In the top part, I always also include some extra information. I tell them to read everything carefully, you know, turn in stuff early, you know. You get better grades if you turn in stuff as opposed to not. I put a little clip art of the book so they know what the book looks like. Yeah, that's just what I like to do. I tell them to schedule, you know, make good use of your time, you know, that sort of thing. And then, you know, I got like student announcements. You know, I put this, you know, this is a generic announcement. You know, in order to be up to date in the course, you must check Moodle more than once a week. See, some students don't look at the Moodle that often. Then they don't know things, and things don't get done. Same thing with the email. You know, they don't check their email. You know, because I tell them I don't send emails to Hotmail and whatever else. I send it to your college email, and that's it. So, you know, check your email more than once a week. And then I tell them what the last day to drop the class is. For an online class, the last day to drop it without a grade, the 28th. Yeah, and I tell them, look, if you want to drop the class, go to Student Services, get the paperwork started, then come see me and get my signature, and then we'll get you out of the class. And then after the 28th, they get to go down with the ship because you can't drop after that. So, and then I put, you know, another little announcement, you know, tips for success. Students don't understand what a detailed answer means. When I say, give me a detailed answer, and they give me a 2-sentence answer, I say, look, 2 sentences is not a detailed answer. You know, and I tell them, look, if you did my assignment and it didn't take you very long to do it, you probably did it wrong. Because I don't have any assignments that are easy, that take 5 minutes. Yeah. So, and then with online classes, sometimes you might use videos, and you might use videos from NC Live. NC Live has a password. It changes on occasion. Right now, the password is Sunshine, but let's say the password changes all of a sudden in the middle of the semester. There's a way to find it without having to look right here. You can go up to the top here to Quick Links and see, scroll down, and boom, there it is right there. And that pops in automatically. We don't do that. We ain't got nothing to do with that. But I like to include, you know, that in there so they can get into it. And then I get this flyer from Teach every year about Teach scholarships. I drop that in there. And if I need to add anything else, I add another. But that's my top section. I like to keep that. That's kind of like the introduction to the course. And you can do all kinds of things with that if you want to. Like I said, this is how I did mine. With you know, that's something new I added last semester. I just wanted to dress it up a little bit. What is the turn editing on? I went in there and I did clip art. So I dropped all the wording in there. And you could restrict that, but why would you restrict that? I don't care about restricting that. I want them to read it, so I don't restrict that. But we'll talk about the restrictions when we get to that in a few minutes. Okay, so we get out of that. Assignment types. Now, there's all kinds of assignments that you can make. Let me find a template that's empty. Let me find something I can mess with that won't mess up nothing. A sandbox is just a place you can play that's safe. As you can see, I've messed around in it.
So, you know, why are those black and white? Because there's nothing in it? I mean, those are grayed out?
They're grayed out because they're probably hid. Yeah, hid. See, they're grayed out because they're hid. Hid from the student.
Okay. Can you still click on it or not?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I can click on it. I can go into it. Yeah. Yeah, I can click on it. So I'm not a student.
Okay.
I'm an instructor. I got different rights. I'm going to go down here to topic 31. All right. In topic 31, I want to add an activity. This is where you make your assignments. Okay? And it's always in the bottom right-hand corner of the module. And there's many types of assignments. Okay? There's many types of assignments. I only know about a few of them because those are the only ones I use. Anything else in there that I don't talk about but you want to use, you can ask Kathy about it. Because I don't know nothing about them. Like, for example, I don't do adaptive quiz. I don't do Adobe Connect. I don't do attendance. I don't do Cengage. I don't do certificate, chat, checklist, choice, custom certificate, database, external tool, feedback, flashcards. I don't do glossary or hot pot. I don't do interactive content. I don't do journals. I don't do a lot of things. I'll show you what I do use. I do this one a lot, assignment. That's the one I use the most. Hit add. Now I have a blank assignment. This is where you give it a title. This is where you give it a description. Well, I need to do something else, Neil. Click that. Gives you the rest of the things to click on. Okay. Everything I type here, if I don't hit this button, it doesn't show out front, so I got to click that button. And this is where I can drop those assignment sheets. This is where I can make it. This is where I can make it. What's the word? I can tuck it inside. And then the due dates and all that. I'm going to show you in one of my classes. But let me go back. Get out of that. Yeah, the only types of assignments the only types of activities or assignments I'm going to talk to you about are the assignments, a forum, a quiz, and a voice thread. And the voice thread I'm going to talk about probably very briefly because there's training on it. You can get a video on that, and Zach does a better job at it than I do anyway. Let me go back to one of my actual classes that looks a lot better. Here is an assignment. I can change the title from out front. See that right there? I click on that, and I can. And as you can see, I got to hit enter when I finish. If I don't hit enter, the change won't take. I can change the title on the outside. But can I change any of this on the outside? No. All of that's got to be changed from edit. So let's go in there. Okay. I give it a name. In this case, chapter EDU 131, chapter 2, assignments. I type all of this in there. It's all paragraph. I don't have to make it a head or anything. I like everything to be at least full font because it looks better. And as you see, every one of my assignments, I put a little stuff. This addresses learning outcome or learning objective 1 and 2. And then I like to put on the front the due date. I don't like there to be any confusion as to when it's due. Because when the crying starts, and the crying will start, I have no sympathy because I've given them so many things to help them keep up with when the assignments are. I don't feel the need to have any sympathy. So, I put that there. Do you have to do that right there? No, not necessarily, but I like it done. Why 11 o'clock, Neil? Because I used to would get mixed up and I'd put 12, but I accidentally would a lot of times put 12 noon, and the students would freak out. Mr. Neil, I thought you said till midnight. So I switched over to 11 p.m. Just made it simple. So 2,300 hours. That's what I always go with, 2,300 hours. Nice and simple. Why don't you give them till midnight? Well, no. 11 o'clock, that's plenty of time. You ain't got it done by then, you're not going to do it. So. But if I want to highlight something, you do it like that. You go over here to your highlighter. I always go with that color blue. Your bold, your italics, your bullet points, your numbers, underline. I don't mess with much underlining. In the ADA class, they said stay away from underlining. I don't know whether that's true or not. I just don't do it though. If I want something to pop, I just highlight it blue. You can change the color of the font that way. I mean, all of this is pretty much like Word. Sometimes, like if I was to drop that down a little bit, sometimes when you go back to the front, it doesn't show the gap. Moodle's weird like that. I don't know why it does that. Sometimes you might have to drop it down 4 or 5 times to get it to show just a small break between the two on the front. I don't know why that is. That's just a Moodle quirk. I just gotten used to just doing it like that and be done with it. If you grab the corner, well, can't get a hold of it. Maybe you grab that. You look, oops. You see what I'm doing there? You do that. And I got to have that clicked in, otherwise it's not going to show on the front. But that's how I give it the title. That's how I give the little rigmarole as to how to find the assignment. You can just type up there, go to page 35 and answer all the chapter review questions. You can just type that in there and don't have to worry about that additional document that I make. That's up to you. I just prefer to do it this way. This is the assignment sheet. I just grab it from the file and drop it right in there. If it's an Adobe file, well, I want to say, yeah, I think that pops automatically, so that's something entirely different. We'll talk about that in a minute. But I drop my assignment sheet in there, so it's tucked in. I could put that on the outside under the assignment resources on the front, but I don't like it like that. I like it inside, and it just looks neater. And then this is where you click on the due dates. What's the first time you can see it? It's 0 hours on August 28th. And it's due the 13th by 11, 2300 hours. And after that, they can still turn it in. With the assignment, with this type of assignment, they can turn in stuff late. But in the place where you go to grade it, it'll say 30 minutes late, 2 days late.
So it's up to the instructor then.
Yeah, if you want to still grade it, if you want to grade it and penalize it, or just give it a 0 and be done with it, that's your business. Now, some assignments, once the due date hits, it's locked, and it can't send in nothing. But this one, you still can. So I got my open date and then the close date, which is the due date. I don't worry with this. I don't worry with that. I click that because I want it to always show. Number of uploads, I put that up to the maximum. Not that anybody's going to turn in 20 things, but in case they do. I put this submission size as high as it'll go. I don't know what it comes set on factory, but I like to bump it up as high as it'll go, because let's say your student turns in an assignment that's 90 megabytes big, but you got it set on 10. Moodle won't accept it. And they freak out. So I put it as high as it'll go. I don't worry with that. Let me go up here to expand. Feedback types, I leave that alone. Submission types, I leave that alone. I leave group submission settings alone. I leave notifications alone. Grade. I like it. I think all of this comes factory. I'm not sure. I believe it does. But if not, point. Maximum grade 100. Grading method. You want it to be simple, direct grading, not these other ones. But it may come factory simple, direct grading. I can't remember. This right here too is important. Grade category. Every assignment you have has a category. Okay. Like in my classes, there might be 5 categories, and each category is worth 20% of your grade. And each category might have 10 assignments each. But every assignment belongs to a category. In this case, in this class, look at all those categories. You got final exam, message board, midterm, resource notebook, rough draft. This particular assignment belongs to the chapter assignment. I can assign the category here for one thing, or in the grade book, I can do it for multiple assignments. That's the easiest place to assign the category within the grade book. We'll talk about that when we get to grade book. I don't mess with grade to pass. I don't mess with blind marking. I don't mess with this other thing, mark workflow. I don't mess with common module settings. Restrict access, that I do mess with. Restrict access is for online assignments that you want to lock until they do something. In this case, this assignment is locked until they do what? The statement of integrity quiz. I could lock it until they do chapter 11, or I could lock it until they did the midterm. But in this case, I want them to do the statement of integrity quiz before it unlocks. So I click on that. Well, what grade do they have to have? I click in this button here, and they got to have 100 on that quiz. I told you it's only one question, true or false. If you put false, you got a 0, and you failed, because that says no, I didn't understand it. So, and I add that restriction. Can I add other types of restrictions? Yes. This will come in handy when it comes to forums. We'll talk about that when we get to a forum.
Can I take a quick break?
Take a quick break.
Where's the restroom?
Down the hall. You see Michelle's office. You've gone too far. You'll see it. It's up against this wall. All right, video people and video land, we're taking a little break here, but we're going to get back into it here in a minute. I ain't going nowhere. I'm just waiting on the student to come back. All right. What I'm going to show you now is the how to do a forum, also known as a message board. On some of my classes, I still call it a message board. I just hadn't got around to changing it to forum. That's another type of assignment you'll use a lot in an online class. In the online classes here, Kathy prefers you to do forums. Doesn't say how many you have to do, but you know, at least do enough to make her happy. Also, with online classes, she likes for you to have an icebreaker. That's a type of forum as well. We'll talk about the icebreaker first. The icebreaker assignment, the way I do mine is I ask a few questions. The questions, they prefer them to be something other than what's your favorite color, do you like Colombo, do you like to take, do you like summer versus fall, no, they want you to ask questions related to, So in my case, I put, list the top 3 things you wish to learn, what do you enjoy about working with children, why are you interested in the program, and what are your plans after you get your degree. That's all related to the thing. And, that's my icebreaker. And that's the first assignment I have after the integrity quiz, the very first one. For that one, I'll show you how they're built. So let's go into edit. Well, actually, if you wanted to add one, this is where you would find it.
Okay, wait a minute. Where did you add? Where'd you get to add? Okay,
Right
got
there.
it. Okay, got it.
Just like in any other one. And you would go over there and it would,
Form.
it would give you a blank one. In this case, we're going to crack open this one here that I made. Edit. Okay. I got to give it a name. I call it icebreaker. All my icebreakers for every class are the same. So I just cut it out of one class and dump it into another one. No need to reinvent the wheel for each class. In this case, I've got the questions, and then look, do on such and such. Do on such and such by 11. The settings for the forum. Okay, I leave this alone. I leave it on standard forum for general use. Maximum attachment size. I typically don't require any attachments for this, but I probably go
just
ahead.
Type it in there.
I just set it at the max. With my like I said, with my with my stuff, I just like to put it in that. With this one, I put up to 20. I don't care about it. If you want it to display a word count, some people are funny about their forums. Your forum has to be 250 words. I don't give a rat's rear end how long it is, as long as you tell me what I want to hear. Yeah, some people are funny about the word count, so I leave that at no. If you want to cut it on, that's your business. I don't worry about this. I leave that alone. I leave this alone. I don't mess with this either. Grade, that I do mess with. The only thing I mess with in here is I put the category. In other words, this is a message board. Do I mess with grade to pass? No, don't mess with that. Because that's not where I'm telling it how to grade it. This is where I tell it to grade. For a forum or a message board, I want it to do maximum rating. And then that'll say point, and the maximum grade is 100. Now the way I do my regular forums, I'll talk about in a second. The icebreaker, you either do it or you don't. You do it, you get 100. You don't do it, you get 0. With my message board / forums, you have to make a post, 50 points. You have to respond to somebody, 50 points. That way you can get 100. If you post but no response, you get a 50. If you respond but no post, you get a 50. If you do neither, you get a 0. But this is where you put the, tell it how to grade it. I don't mess with this. You would think that that's where you put the when is it open, when is it due, but no, you don't put it there. I don't mess with this right here. Restrict access. Of course, we already talked about adding the syllabus, in the academic integrity law. But this is where I give it the due date. Okay? In this case, I go to add restriction, and I put date. In this case, when I did date, this popped up, and I put, I can do from or until. In this case, it's open from August the 28th, 100 hours, and then I go over here and click add restriction and add another date, and it gives me this, and then I change the from to until. In this case, it's open until the 6th of September, 11 o'clock. And after that date passes, it locks, and they can't turn in nothing. It's over with. I don't mess with this. I don't mess with this. And then I hit save and return to the front. And my message boards, you see I don't have a document for these as far as the instructions. In this case, the instructions are typed into that description window. And then I got the instructions. And it tells them point blank. 50 points for posting, 50 points for a response. Pretty straightforward. In this case, for this one, I want them to read the following questions and answer them. And then they post their, if they go in there, they'll go in there and, add a new discussion to the topic. They'll type their subject, whatever they want to call it, and they'll type my answers. And if they wanted to dump a document, they could, but I prefer them not to, and then post a form. That's how they would do it. I'm not doing that because I'm not a student. Now, I'll go into the forums and I'll respond to some of their stuff. I'll go in there to a student or two and respond like, okay, I like what you said, So I'll join the discussion as well, and they can click on me and respond to me if they want to. I count that as a proper response. But I'll go in there and make comments too. But that's how you do that particular assignment. Now, quiz is something else you'll use. In my online classes, I do midterms and finals. In my seated classes, I do chapter exams. We finish a chapter, you do an exam. Finish a chapter, you do an exam. But online, it just seems easier just to do a midterm and a final. How do you make these? Lots of different ways to make them. See, in this class, the hurricane happened last year. This is what I originally had planned, but the hurricane came, so I made a different version of it. I cut some chapters out. And I just left it because I might need it again. But I hide it so the student doesn't see it. This is all they're going to see. This is just for me to have it where it needs to be if I need to unlock it. But if I wanted to add a quiz, click on that bad boy. And you can make it chapter quiz, you can make it a midterm, whatever you want. There's ways to build it. Now, I tell them what chapters I'm covering. I tell them use your books, use your notes, use whatever to answer the questions. My midterms are ginormous, so I think it's cruel and unusual to put a timer on it. But if I'm doing a chapter exam, and you might decide to do chapter exams, I put a timer on it. And the way I figure it is, if you understand the information, you should be able to finish it within the time I give you. But if you hadn't been reading, if you hadn't been looking at the material, of course you can't finish it. I caught you. That's the whole point. At first, I didn't like the idea of an open book test. I thought everybody would make 100. But what I found out real quickly was the A students still make A's, and the bad students still fail. So, I was happy. But this bad boy is big. When I say big, it's probably like 150 questions. So I feel bad at putting a timer on it. So, I give them a break on that. For this, I give it a name. Pretty straightforward. I type this up. I type it up, then I highlight it, and then I pick my font size. In this case, I like 4, which is 14 font. I like it bold because it pops better. Then I go down here, set my due dates. It's open on the 28th. It closes on October the 18th. And once again, when this bad boy closes, it's locked. Can't go back in there. I don't mess with this. I like it to say attempts must be submitted before the time expires, otherwise it's not counted. I like to leave that like it is. Let's say you wanted to put a time limit on it. This is where you do it. You click enable, and then you tell it you want hours, days, minutes, however you want to do it. I don't want to put no time limit on it, so I leave that cut off. I don't do no grace period. I don't mess with that. This is where I give it a category. In this case, it's a midterm. So I could call it final. whatever. I don't worry about a grade to pass. I put unlimited attempts. What that means is they can go back and forth inside of it. Well, I take that back. I think that means that they can submit it more than once. But I tell my students up front in the syllabus, I grade the first one you submit. You can keep submitting it. I'm just grading the first one. You know, because I have students that do that sometimes. I'll open the exam back up for a special case, and somebody will see it, and they'll be slick and try to redo it. And I'm like, I'm not grading it. You've already turned in yours. I didn't open that up for you. But I leave that on unlimited. I leave that on highest grade. This is where I change some things. I like to start a new page every 5 questions. If you have too many questions on a page, if it takes them too long to get through the page, it might time them out. So I put 5 questions on a page so they can get through the page quick. Navigation method, I just leave that on free. Question behavior, I don't like it to shuffle my questions within the questions because sometimes the question has answers like only A and B. Well, if it shuffles A and B, then it kind of messes me up. So I put no on shuffling within the question. How do questions behave? Deferred feedback. I leave it at deferred feedback. You see all those options? I don't know what they do. I just leave it on deferred feedback. This is the one I was thinking unlimited had something to do with. Each attempt builds on the last. Yes. The reason I leave it like that is so a student can go in, do a little work. Oh, the kids are screaming. Let me cut this off and come back later. And then they'd come back an hour later and still work on it. You know what I mean? And they hadn't lost anything. They can start back on. Yeah, they can start back on question 21. If I was timing it, and they're working on it for 30 minutes, and it's an hour-long test, they can stop, go do something, come back a day later, they still got 30 minutes left. So they can go back in and out, because I understand life happens, and, you know. So that's why I leave it like that. Now, this section right here, unless you have these dates plugged in, it's not going to allow you to mess with certain things in this section. But I got the dates plugged in so I can do it. This right here, I think is based on these 3. In these 2, I like it to be attempted and marked. So just these 2 clicked only. So these 2 and these 2 only.
And what is this referring to?
How the test grades. Like, for example, if you had certain things clicked
What's
in.
your heading right over there?
Review options. If you had certain things clicked in, it would tell them the correct answer if they got it wrong. I don't want them to know that yet. So the first 2 columns I leave number 1 and number 3 clicked in. The attempt and the marks. This is just how it was taught to me, and all my tests work fine doing it this way. And then this last category, I have them all keyed in. And based on that, that's the only one that shows there. So that's how it should look. 1, 1, 2, 1, 3, 1, 3, all. The appearance, I don't mess with that. Extra restrictions, I don't mess with that. Overall feedback, I don't mess with that. Common module settings, I don't mess with that. Once again, I restrict it because it's an online class. Got to lock it like everything else. And I don't mess with the rest of them. Then I hit save. Now, the $1 million question. Well, Neil, how do I add the test questions? I built how the test works, but I ain't got no questions, Neil. How do I get the questions? Well, you can build questions in Moodle one by one by one, or you can use other methods and drop it in there. The way I do mine, I use a program called ExamView. I build it in ExamView, and then I convert it over.
Is that something we all have access to, or is...
That's something I can give you. That's something I can give you. That's something I can show you how to do. That would be another lesson in and of itself. If you want to add questions, see, we're inside the quiz right now. in this case, the midterm exam. If you look over here, under administration, you got all the quiz administration buttons. Edit quiz. It's going to take me. You see all these questions I've dumped in there? Now, when you first come into this, yours will have nothing in it, so there'll be no questions. And
There won't be questions from the previous time the course was taught?
Well, if you have a template, if it's a brand new one you're making, let's say you went over there in the corner and hit new quiz. Of course, it's not going to have anything, but if you're using somebody else's, it'll have questions. You don't use theirs.
Yeah, this time.
Okay. But if you're using if you were making a new one, it would be blank, no questions. Over here, this would say 10. You'd have to change that, make it 100, because 10, change it to 100, hit save. To add questions, I go here. For some reason, it's not showing me the rest of the menu. So a trick is to go all the way to the bottom. In this case, since I got stuff in there. And see now, I want to from question bank. And see all these.
And these are ones you dropped in there?
Yeah. Yeah, chapter 11, chapter 13. I could drop stuff from another class if I wanted to. Well, that's where I get them from. And I can go in there and I can drop all of them or I can drop certain ones. But in this case, I'm going to drop each one. I like to do them by chapter. That way I can build it like that. In other words, you could make the midterm a hodgepodge of questions, but I like to have it all divided by chapter so I can pull stuff out, in chunks if I wanted to. And let me go somewhere and I'll show you an empty one. Let's go to, let's get out of that. I don't want that. Let's go back up to the top. Let's go to the sandbox. Let's go play in there. All right. Let's get rid of you. Delete. Yes. Nice going, fella. Be careful. Click on that. Go to quiz. Neil gives it a name. Neil gives it a description. Neil clicks that. Neil clicks all those other buttons I told you about. You see how initially it's got everything clicked in? So I got to go in there and undo it. Oops. Okay. That's how I want that to look. All right, I want to add the questions. Remember the questions I wanted to add? Go down to question bank. Well, never mind. What in the world? Let me go back. That wasn't right. Let's back up. All right. Okay, we did all those things. We hit save. Get back. Okay. It erased everything I just did. Okay. Okay. Okay, now I got a blank quiz or blank exam or whatever you want to call it. I want to add the questions. Click on it. Neil, you have no questions. Edit quiz. What did I tell you? It's set at 10. We don't want that. We want it set at 100. Save. Okay, we fixed that little thing. Okay, I want to add some questions. Get them from the question bank. Okay. I want to get them from here. EDU 119, Chapter 7. Click on that. I could go in there and add individual questions by just clicking the box. Or I could go right here and do them all, which is what I want to do. Go down to the bottom. And give it a second. And boop, 38 questions. I don't want that question no more, Neil. Right there. That's 37. I want to edit that question, Neil. Click on the gear. Go in and edit it. I'm going to play around with it. But the way I made those using a program called ExamView. It's a pretty simple program. It can be converted over in Moodle. Moodle does have a function that will allow you to build questions, but I don't use it, so I don't know how to use it because I don't have the time to build one question at a time. I told you my midterm has 150 some questions in it. I'm not gonna sit there and build it one at a time. I got stuff already in ExamView, and ExamView allows me to build things. So I use it, and I just convert it over. And that's the whole process. But it's pretty straightforward. You might like
I'm trying to think if Cengage is
Cengage.
because I'm familiar with that now from
Cengage, when back in the day when they sent the books, a lot of the books came with a disc, and that disc had resources.
Well, there's online resources.
And it would have question banks and all that, and it had the ExamView program. That's where I got it from years ago. I never used their question banks because I didn't like them. I didn't like how they worded the questions. They were tricky. They confused me, and I'm the instructor. So I would take the program and make the test with questions of my own. I wouldn't use their question bank, but I would use their software. So that's where I got it from, and I still have it. I still use it. It's very simple. Basically, I can take my PowerPoints and cut stuff out of them and drop it in there and make a question out of it. Or I can build it by hand. I've built them over the years. Now I don't have to do that. I can just cut and paste and all of that. But that's how I put my tests together. Pretty straightforward. VoiceThread.
I'm in the easy right now. I'm teaching 7 classes this semester.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, you got some work ahead of you.
not knowing what I'm doing, so anything I can do to smooth this out this first semester till I get my feet under me. So.
VoiceThread I'm going to hold off on because I think the videos that you could see from Zach, and hopefully maybe you could make his training. Well, somebody's doing the training.
Well, if it's recorded, I'll make sure I watch it.
I showed you how to do labels.
Yeah.
Let me show you something else. With online classes, Kathy's the distance learning coordinator, so she.
Where's her office?
Her office is over there in the Johnson building. You'll see instructionals. Well, you see the
What hall?
It's down that hall where HR is.
Okay.
But she's not always in there. It's easy to get up with her by email. She works from home a lot. With online classes, they want us to have all kinds of additional resources to make it more like the in the classroom version as possible. So this is where I put those things. Like I got a chapter PowerPoint that I made, the notes to go with it, and then I threw in some websites and some videos that go along with the chapter. Well, how do you do those, Neil? Well, to do a video or to do a website, you go here, and then you pick URL. If you want to do a label, you click label. I use label as like because over everything I like it to be obvious what it is. I'll show you that in a minute. But you know, I hit URL, and that's how I can do
Put
it.
link.
Yeah, I can put a link in, or I can put a video link in. That's how I do that. If you know, for example, I'll give you a peek at what it looks like in here. The other one was labeled website. This one I labeled as a video, so you know what it was. This is a video, and this one came from NC Live, and that's the link from NC Live, and that can be linked off of the PCC library site. So go to the main page and look around that. I just cut this description straight out of NC Live and dropped it in there. Nothing fancy. So I got a title, I got the link, I got a description. I click the little button. I don't worry about none of this. I don't worry about none of this. I don't worry about none of that. I don't add no restriction because I don't care if they look at the video. The main thing that has to be locked in an online class are the things that they can submit for a grade. So I don't hide PowerPoints. I don't hide the syllabus. I don't hide videos. I hide assignments because we want them to take the verification quiz first, because when you do the census report, you want that to be the first thing showing that they did, not an assignment. So that's why the assignments are locked. But that's what the URL looks like. You know, that's how you put one of those in there. And this is based on I click on that if I'm Johnny's student, and you give it a minute, and hopefully the video will pop up. If not, it'll make a liar out of me. Well, I can click on this one and see it'll go to that website. And always make sure your links aren't broken. Kathy don't like that. Yeah, we can go right to that, and that's what I wanted them to see. I wanted them to go to this website, so I can get you to that website. And here's the video. Give it a second, and it should pop in. Well, I gotta look at that because it's not popping like it should. Anyway, it usually pops right on into the video. Or you can take it from YouTube. I use a lot of the videos from NC Live because they have the closed caption, and that's ADA. Don't have to worry about anything on NC Live. It's ADA. So that's a great place to go find videos if you can find them. On YouTube, if I do use something from YouTube, I try to find this stuff with closed caption. Once it's got the closed caption, I'm golden. If it doesn't have closed caption, I don't use it. So I just got to keep that in mind. But that's how you do that. And I showed you about the label. See, I like to use labels. These are the resources. That's the assignment. I don't like them to not know what the assignment is. Some instructors just throw a bunch of mess in there, and somewhere hidden in there is an assignment. I don't like it to be an Easter egg hunt. I like it to be very obvious where it is, so there's no confusion. So that's the assignment. And sometimes if there's more than one in there, I'll put assignment 1, assignment 2, And if you want to make more of those, we'll talk about how to do that. I already showed you how to do a label. I already showed you how to hide stuff. Just go here and hit hide. If you want to delete it, you can click delete, and it's gone. Let's say you want to make more of those. I duplicate it. Watch this. Hit duplicate. Because I don't want to have to type it over and create it again. I can just duplicate the sucker. You can duplicate anything. You can duplicate any individual thing inside the module. You can even duplicate the module. See, now I got 2 of them. And see, that right there allows me to pick it up and move it. So I can move it. So look at that. So that's what that means. You can move it. There's another way to move it, but that's about the easiest way. Now, that doesn't allow me to move it from Module 1 to Module 2, but it allows me to move it within the module itself. And see, by duplicating it, now I can go in there and I can give it a new name, like Assignment 2 or, late work, or whatever I want to call it. but I don't want it. So we'll get rid of it. And now it's gone. If you wanted to move stuff, there's another way to move things. Go all the way to the bottom. You see this right here? Tab, Addition, Utilities, click it. And you can move modules. Like right now, currently you are in module chapter 2. If I wanted to move chapter 2 above the icebreaker, so I just did. Chapter 2 is above the icebreaker now. But I don't like that. So I want to move it back. So I click back on chapter 2. Go back down here. And I want to put it back over top. Chapter 2 message board. Well, actually, no. I want to put it back over. I want it in between there, so put it there. And see, sometimes it does squirreliness like that. It shouldn't have done that, but that's Moodle. You'll learn to hate Moodle after a while because it does squirrely stuff that makes no sense. And you got to go do it again. Didn't quite put it where I wanted it. Let's try this again. Same thing I told it to do a minute ago. And this time it did it like I wanted it to. You see how I moved it? Let's say I want to move something within the module. I showed you how you can do it just by doing it in it. But you go down here. Now you can move within the module. You see that right there? See, once I clicked on, see, normally this is set on disabled, but when it's enabled, you get these little things. I click on that. I click on it and see now it tells me where I can move it. So I'm going to move it right there. But I don't want it there. What do I want? I want it right there. You can also move it out of the module. I could take that from module chapter 3 message board, click it. I could go over here. You see it's gone. Where'd it go? It's over here now. But I don't want that. Let's move it back. Put it back where it came from. It was right there. See? Boom. Done. And see, she's back where she started. And if you want to get rid of those right there, you got to go back down here to disable it again. And see how they go. Now, you go back down here. Let's say I want to duplicate the whole stinking module. Right now, I am in chapter 3 module. And I want to duplicate chapter 3 module. Duplicate current topic. Topic, aka module. Used to duplicate the resources of the current topic in a new topic. So duplicate. Duplicate. Give it a minute. That should pop up. Hit continue. Now what do we get? Chapter 3, the original. So it's chapter 3, the original. And then the new chapter 3. Now it doesn't give it a name. He calls it topic, but it's the same thing, isn't it? Well, how do I get it to say chapter 3 now instead of topic 11?
Edit.
Yeah, go to edit, go right up here. You saw it showing, but so you got to do custom. Then I can type da, 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 da. Come down here. See? But I don't want that. I want it gone. The whole module gone. I want that whole module gone. That's nice. Hadn't always been able to do that, but that's something they added recently. So any questions? Cool. We talked about how to lock stuff. Already done that, right? So you're good there. We talked to you about how to edit. Let's see. Yeah, I already talked to you about how to.
Just did.
Yeah, I already did that. Let's see. I already showed you how to tuck stuff, right? See, back in the old days, I would have dropped the assignment instructions right below the assignment, but I thought it was tacky, so I started tucking them. I showed you how to do that. Grade book. Everybody likes the grade book. All right, let's go to grade book. Come down here. Go to where it is. There's gradebook setup right there. It's under course administration. Click on it. And boom, there's the gradebook. All right. First thing you got to do in your course is make sure that this section is set up right. Go to the very tip top, hit edit. Edit settings. It has to be set on weighted means of grades. If it's not, it won't grade right. That's the overall course set on weighted means. Don't mess with none of this other stuff. Leave that alone. Save changes. Okay. Next thing you'll need to do is create categories. As you can see, I have categories. I have message board. I have chapter assignments. I have midterm. I have final, I have resource notebook, and I have rough draft. These things right here do not have categories, so they're not graded, they're not counted. To add a category, pretty simple. Click on add a category. You give it a name. It has to be set on simple weighted means. Otherwise, it won't grade right. The overall grade book set on weighted. Each individual category set on simple. Very important. Other than that, you don't mess with none of this other stuff. In this case, we're going to cancel because we don't want to start another category. All right. Now, once you make your categories, you're going to have to tell your assignments where to go. I've already told my assignments where to go. I can go ahead and click, 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 go down here. What do I want to move those three things? I want to move them to rough draft. Watch this. Now those three things are under rough draft, and they'll be counted as part of that category. And if you went into each individual one on the front side, you would see that as its category. But that's the wrong category. So Neil has to fix that. So I click them again, and I move them back where they came from. They are message boards. Give it a minute, and boom, now they're back home. Now, once I create my categories, initially, it'll say 0 there. Like if I was to create a new category, let's see. Let's add a new category. Let's call it same changes. Where's that new category? Well, what's it worth? Let's say I want to make it worth 10% of the overall grade. Okay, I'll make it worth 10%. I type in 10 in this case and hit save. But I can't leave that because that's going to give me 110%. No. I don't care how many categories you have, but make them equal 100. Otherwise, you get into a problem. Some people do this mess when there's 200 points in the class. Do categories, keep it simple. But I don't want that. I'm going to get rid of it. Just like with anything, edit, go to delete, and boom. That category is gone. No more category. How can I tell everything's under? Because everything's under. The only ones that are not under something, see, they show this. That's hid. I'm not grading that. This is the how to set up a voice thread. But because of what it is, it tries to think it's an actual assignment. But see, I don't have it under a category, and I'm not going to grade it, so it doesn't factor in. And I don't count the integrity quiz as a grade. So once again, it's not under a category either. It is what it is. So therefore, it doesn't have anything. That's pretty much how the grade book works. Any questions? And all that's covered in the PowerPoint and in the other videos as well. Census report, since you're doing an online class, sometime in September, you're going to have to turn in a census report to Tammy. The census report comes the day after the 10% point. The 10% point for online classes is September the 6th at midnight. So on September the 7th, when you get to work, time to send Tammy a census report. Well, where did I get that, Neil? I don't know. Come down here to where's it at? Yeah, come down here. User reports. I think it's user reports. Oh no, go down course administration, I'm sorry. Click there, go to reports, census report. Click that. Tell it the range you want it to look. So in this case, you would tell it, I want it to look August the 28th to September the 6th. And then I click in downloadable PDF. Because I like to have a copy of it too, for my records. And then once you click that, you get report.
You just email that to Tammy?
Yeah. But my problem now is there's no data because there's no students.
Gotcha.
So they ain't going to give you that. But, yeah. And it'll make it as a PDF, and then you can send that to Tammy. And she won't send you nasty grams saying, send me my paperwork. All right, that's how you do a census report. Pretty straightforward. I like to save them. All right, I'm getting ready to show you some stuff that is advanced stuff. You might not want to do it because you're not advanced yet.
Is it going to confuse me more?
No, but it's just stuff that could,
I want to know what I need to do to my course.
Yeah.
What I'm getting ready to do.
What I'm going to do is I'm going to show you some advanced stuff that you'll do, that you can do later when you get comfortable with it. But right now, I wouldn't mess with it. I say in the PowerPoint, talk to Kathy Mayo before you attempt these things, because it's probably best for you not to do these things right now until you have a better understanding of Moodle. Like, for example, importing stuff from one class to another. Because if you don't know what you're doing, remember I was telling you, you get brundle fly?
Yeah.
You would get peanut butter in your chocolate. and then you got to pick the chocolate out of your peanut butter, and that takes more time than it would have been just to build it. We don't want to do that. So I can tell you how to modify grades. The assignments are pretty straightforward. I can't show you right now because I don't have any live students. But if you look at those old videos from January, at the time I think I had students. So I have to show you something. But when you go in there to grade, let me click on this. See, this is what it looks like. Okay, it'll tell me somebody submitted and somebody needs to be graded. But right now, nothing in there. But view all submissions. I could grade Neil. Let's say Neil submitted nothing. Click on grade. Give Neil a 0. Let's say Neil did turn in something. I grade it. Neil made 100. Fine. Give him 100. Move on. Let's say Neil made a 90. I give him feedback. I might type in, Neil, you forgot to do question 12, so you made a 90. Or I might put a file in there. In other words, I like to mark up their homework.
Now, how did you get to that now? Go back to initially.
This is the assignment that's due this week. I click on it. It shows me.
View all submissions. Okay.
Yeah, and I like to go in there and view all submissions to see. And I see that Neil didn't submit anything. And let's say it says past due or whatever. I hit grade. I go in there. I give him a 0. But if
okay, I got you.
If he makes 100, I give him 100. I move on. If he makes anything less than 100, I give him feedback. Like I tell my students, you made 100. There's nothing to say. Just do it again. If you make anything less than 100, then I give you feedback. And what I like to do is take the assignment, mark it up, and save a copy of it for my files. And then I send it back to them as an attachment. I'll type in here, see attachment. And then there'll be the file. I'll dump it in there. And then I'll hit save changes, and boom, it'll be sent up. But in this case, we're not doing anything. So we'll leave that alone. But that's how you grade stuff. But with assignments, it's pretty straightforward. You can give them a grade. But let's say with a forum. A forum, if they do something, you can go in there and give them 100 or 50. But if they don't do anything, there's nothing to click on. You got to go into the grade book and modify it to give them the 0. And I don't know, so that's the problem. I can't show that. Hold on, come on. If there was a discussion, I could click on it, and then I could give somebody a grade. Usually, everybody does the assignment. They'll either post and reply, or post but not reply. So I'll give them 100 or 50. But occasionally, I'll have somebody that misses it. If they miss it, there's nothing for me to click on for that particular person. Then I got to go into the grade book and modify the grade. In this case, I got to give them a 0 manually. Otherwise, it won't count against them. It'll make the grade look better than what it is. So I got to give them their 0 because they earned it. Once I start getting some stuff in the grade book, I could show you that, but I don't have anything in the grade book, so I can't show you. I'm thinking, like I said, I'm thinking in my video at the time classes were in session, so it might be something in there. I'm not sure. But I could show you how to convert. Well, I talked to you about using ExamView, right? I could talk to you about that. That's a whole different, let's sit down and do that kind of thing. I could show you how to take out and drop students and withdraw. Like, for example, participants. Let's say it's time to drop Neil. Neil's active, right? You go right over here. Don't ever hit the X. That's bad. Don't hit the X. Go to the little gear symbol. Okay. When it's time to deactivate the student, let's say you had to drop somebody. You say, Tammy, I'm dropping this student. They did not enter the class by September the 6th. Tammy will send you an email saying, okay, suspend them from Moodle. okay, you want them to be inactive, so you suspend them. And you put the date, you're suspending them as of. So in this case, I'm suspending them as of September the 7th, the day after the 10% point. Then I hit Save Changes.
Gotcha.
And then over here, you'll have to click on this. Theirs will say Student. You click on that, and then you'll go to Block, and you'll put them as blocked. That way, they can't get back into the course, and you don't have to see them no more. Because until you do that,
They're gonna keep showing up on you.
you keep seeing them in the
Even
grade
though
book.
they're
You
inactive.
keep seeing and stuff.
Right.
And then once you get rid of them, they're gone. But we're not going to do nothing to Neil because that would mess things up. See, that's my role, teacher. But the other ones would be student. If I had an active class, I could show you something, but I don't have anything active. And let's see. Importing templates to shells. You might want to have Kathy do that for you for the time being. I know how to import stuff from course to course. Where's it at? See it right there, import. I could go here. I could go find any class of mine or anybody else's class for that matter. But I want to import something from one of my EDUs to another EDU. So I'll go find that particular one, pick the particular thing I want. In this case, let's see. I want EDU 119, and then we'll search. And then I pick the one I want to steal from. I want to steal from the newest one. Or maybe I want to steal from the one from the spring or last year. Let's say I want to steal from the online version. Click that. Continue. I get to this. I leave that alone. I don't jump to the final step because other words, if I hit final step, I'm going to get run to fly. That would be bad. I'm going to go to next. Now I pick what I want. And if I want everything, I just leave it alone. But I don't want everything, so I'm going to hit none. Now I can go in there and pick and choose. I can't click on nothing now. First you got to activate the module. And see, now I can pick little pieces of it. Right? That's all I want. Now go on down here. And then I hit next, and then it asks me something else, and I hit do it, and it does it. I'm not going to do it because I don't want to mess that up. When you are importing, you need to know where it's going. If I'm taking that 119 course, if I'm taking something from 119 module number 1, then it's going to dump right there. So if I don't want it mixed with smart thinking, I need to put a blank module on top of that one. Then it'll be dumping into a blank one like I want it to. Otherwise, it's going to be all mixed up within smart thinking. And then I got to pick it apart. That's a pain in the ass. Who wants to deal with that? That's why I say some of these things I'm telling you are a little bit dangerous for you to mess with right now. If you need something imported, just get Kathy to do it for you. And don't worry about picking and choosing from classes yet, because you haven't got to that point yet. That can get that can get dangerous pretty quick. But that's all I got for you. Was any of that helpful?
Oh yeah, a lot. I mean, I've got some good notes. I'm just wondering where to go from here with mine.
Basically, what you need to do is get her to dump whatever was used last time into it.
She should be here today for that.
Oh yeah, she'll be around.
Okay.
Yeah, get her to dump the whatever was used last time, and then you can go through it and see if you like it. And if you do, just clean it up, fix the dates on it, fix the names, fix the syllabus, all that stuff.
That's to get me started. Since
Yeah.
I'm kind of overwhelmed right now with
And
everything.
then when you get settled, take that class and redo it as your own. Because you'll find you're not going to like what other people's stuff looks like.
Yeah.
See,
As I go along.
See, this is what mine looks like. Like I said, mine looks nice. And then Neil gets to look at some of his colleagues from around the state, and I'll show you what some of their mess looks like. Like somebody
Well,
from,
I've taken a ton of online classes
like this class from
when I was in grad school.
from Western Piedmont. Look at this thing. That looks like shit. Look at it. Did I say that on the video? Yeah, I did. I'm sorry. Look at that. That looks terrible. Look at that. Look at that mess. Look at that mess. Where's the assignment? I don't know. Where's it at? Yeah, I don't know. I don't like it. It don't look good. I could have thrown that mess together in a half hour. So I don't like it. It's not pretty. But keep in mind, I've had years to polish these.
Well, I appreciate you sharing with me and showing me.
If you got any questions, I mean, you know,
And I do.
you can always
Like I
come
said,
back
I
by.
need to get back
The-
on mine.
The biggest thing that'll
So I
help
come
you,
to you or to Kathy?
well, some things you'll go to Kathy, some things you can just come to me. The faculty resources, this video series right here will help you on anything. You just click on it. All right, good morning. For those who don't know me,
Yeah, I watched that.
Callahan, I'm the early childhood instructor, and yeah, that one was really tight. This one was, this presentation was all right, but that one was really tight. That one I was, you know, I was building up to it. I had done it recently. This one I didn't know I was doing it till yesterday, so it wasn't as tight as I would have liked it. But yeah, and she broke it down into 4 videos, but it's pretty straightforward. Anyway, I'm glad that'll help you.
Thank you so much. I
No problem.
appreciate it.
No problem. No problem. Yeah, it's a lot of stuff.